Welcome to the Tea for the Queen podcast, the podcast where we try to keep our sanity in an era of staying woke. We explore current events and issues through the lens of feminism, progressive thought, discussion, peace, and love. My name is Tiara Burns. I am your host, and this is your episode. If I say Roe V. Wade, I'm sure you know where I'm going. I know because you listen to this podcast. Over here, we are all about human rights. Women's rights are human rights. Reproductive rights are human rights. The right to choose is a human right. And that's just how it goes. On June 24th, 2022, I think I got the date right. I'm pretty sure it's June 24th. The Supreme Court of the United States, with their unchecked recent authority, overturned Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was a landmark decision that made abortion protected under the United States Constitution in 1973. I believe that this is the first step to striking down most of the progressive legislation in the country. Unfortunately, I live in Texas, a state that honestly feels like a country of its own. Today's episode has been in the works for some time. What is happening in Texas makes me sick. Governor Abbott is urging adults to report supportive families of trans children as criminals. The power grid, the non-existent gun laws, and most unsurprisingly, voter suppression, which I have faced myself. My friend Thal, who is a native Texan, joined me to discuss our thoughts about Roe v. Wade and to just say, God damn it, Texas. This is unlike any episode I've done, but nonetheless perfect for what we all need right now. I know you guys will enjoy the discussion. It's a little unorthodox, but I really had a good time. I'll catch you on the other side. Thal?
Yes.
How are you?
I wouldn't say blessed and highly favored, but I'm okay.
Why aren't you blessed and highly favored? Why not?
Because I live in Texas.
Okay.
I live in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me more. Tell me more. Because I have a residency in Texas, but living, we can argue that. I try to get out every time as I can.
No, I wish I could get out. I'm just waiting for my partner to get a stay-home job, so then we both can get out. Because living here the whole time and then going to like another state and seeing how different it is, like it's just it's a little it gets old. But like that's why I don't understand why people want to move here. It gets old so quick.
Yeah, so many people are moving there, and it does get old. Especially, I don't know about you, but I know we're both like queer folks, so we have to like think about how we will, what we will face continuing to live in Texas.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like every day I'm just like exhausted with it, I'm in Baltimore now, and people ask me, how do you feel living in a state that's so conservative? And it's just like, I don't know. It's just when I'm in Texas, I feel like I'm in a daze.
I mean, the thing is, that's crazy to me, is that
I'm very disconnected.
I didn't realize how conservative Texas was until I met people outside of Texas, because I thought just East Texas was conservative. So whenever I moved to Dallas, I was like, oh, there's like all these different like views and ideas and stuff. But I was wrong. I was very wrong. And now I just hate it here.
So what happens when you meet people from other places?
I usually ask them kind of like, what is it like in the state that they're at? I know I met a woman, I think we went to the we went to like a trans pride fest, and there was like counter protesters, and she was like pretty much mouthy with the counter protesters, which it's weird to have counter protesters at a festival, because what are you protesting? But she's from New Jersey, and she was saying how different it is down here. And I think whenever I met people from where we went to school with, I think Gia's from California, and she was telling me how it's so much like heavier down here than it is like where she's from.
What do you mean heavier?
I don't know how to. I think she meant like the whole environment is a little bit heavier, kind of like a little more stricter. I think is what she meant.
Okay, yeah.
So
that's true. What you say about the anti-protesters. This past weekend was Baltimore Pride. I saw no anti-protesters. None. There were no one on a megaphone yelling, Bible scriptures, telling people they were going to hell. It was just good vibes. And I was stunned, because I've lived in Texas since 2013, and I'm just so used to them being there. Even when I marched in the MLK Day parade, it was for Martin Luther King. There were anti-protesters there. Mm-hmm. Like, are you protesting against civil rights? Is that what's going on?
Thanks to John Cornyn. We know that.
Who's John Cornyn?
I think it's Senator John Cornyn. Is that his name? John Cornyn.
John Cornyn. Senator of Texas?
Yes. Actually,
let me see.
He did a tweet. I screenshotted it. I like how I never get their...
It is Cornyn. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And pretty much Barack did a tweet that said, today the Supreme Court not only reversed nearly 50 years of precedent, it regulated the most intensely personal decisions someone can make to the whims of politicians and ideologues.
Ideological? Ideologues. Okay, yes.
Attacking the essential freedoms of millions. And then he responded, now do Plessy versus Ferguson / Brown versus the Board of Education. I looked up when we can vote him out. Apparently 2027. So
2027.
Yeah, because I think senators have 6 years each time there.
It's too damn long. That's way too long.
That's why November 8th, I'm waiting to get who out. I'm not going to say anymore because I'm going to go on a rant.
You can say it. You can roll on into that name.
I hate Greg Abbott so much.
It's fine. So many people do.
Me and my grandma have like long conversations. Just picture me and an 85-year-old woman sitting here talking shit about Greg Abbott.
I can see it.
We will spend a good hour and a half on the phone just saying all the different things he could have done and how hypocritical he is as a disabled man to limit how, I don't know if you know, he limits, I think, how much somebody can sue over an accident if they're disabled.
What?
So he earned, I think, a whole good amount of money from, because we all know a tree fell on his ass. And
I didn't know that a tree fell on him. I thought he was born that way. Okay.
He got an accident, got super rich from the lawsuit, and then he prevented, I think, other disabled people from kind of getting the same thing. He's very much of a hypocrite.
Yeah, he is very much a hypocrite. Oh my God.
I don't know the exact details. That's just the gist of it. But
okay. So what has been like the most thing that surprised you about what Abbott has done recently? For me, it was his thoughts about trans youth and his call to report people who are basically supporting their children, report families. It's just, I don't understand why people are so obsessed with the trans community.
Yeah. I mean, for Abbott, it's something that didn't really surprise me because, like, I always expect the worst from that little man.
You can curse. This is an explicit podcast.
Okay. I always expect the worst from the crusty bitch. And
okay, thank you.
So it didn't really surprise me. However, it surprised me about how much people were okay with that. Like, I know I shouldn't be surprised because Texas is like super conservative, but most of the people that I've met thankfully haven't been like super conservative, but also I don't ever know. Like I recently, as you know, like I'm non-binary, and I recently like came out to a couple of friends, and I ended up not being friends with them anymore after that. So,
are you
yeah,
serious?
it's really hard to like get people to respect that certain part of you because they're so used to saying like seeing another part. So, but
if you don't mind me asking, what was like their pushback?
They said it made no sense. It just didn't make sense. And I was like, how does it not make sense? So, yeah.
Here's my thing. It's not for it to make sense to them.
I mean, I can't explain like how, like, you know, I have a hard time like explaining my feelings about why I feel like why I'm non-binary. Like, it's just something that I guess I've always known. For example, I remember telling my cousin, you know, Diavian, like telling him whenever, like, I think I was like 12 and he was like 3 years younger than me. And I was like, he was like, well, what do you want me to put your name under my phone? And I was like, just put potato. And he was like, pink potato? And I was like, no, just potato, because I am just a potato. And I really did not realize that is like, yeah. So I was like, I didn't realize that it was just me wanting to be just neutral, like me not feeling as if I should be a male or a female. So it's something that's always been there. And again, like for when it comes to like the A spectrum part on my end too, I didn't realize how much like heterosexuality is pushed on you as a child. I thought it was just like, I thought it was just normal. So like whenever my parents or my family would ask me, oh, when did you get a boyfriend yet? And I would be like, no. And they were like, well, do you like girls? And I was like, no, like I don't like anybody. So it took a long time to realize that was normal. So because I felt like there was something wrong with me because I was not dating, but also it's weird because they want you to date, but they don't want you to date. It's Black households are very,
very, very strange. And then you hit a certain age and they're like,
when you gonna get us some babies?
When you gonna get married? And it's like, I had to sneak and start dating at 20. So, hate to break it to you, you're going to be waiting quite a while. But I want to go back to speaking about Roe. So as we know, they overturned Roe v. Wade this past Friday. I was devastated. I think so many have been devastated. And there's so much more than just, I mean, not saying that abortion is something small, but there's a lot that's been taken away with overturning of Roe v. Wade. And I actually wrote about this last night. I have been courting the ideal of divesting. You know what divesting is, right? Divesting is basically like completely don't care. I acknowledge that the shit stinks, but I'm not going to get any poopery. I'm not going to get Glade. I'm going to go to another bathroom. And I've been courting the ideal of divestment as a Black woman because I think that the United States, they don't listen to us when we're always right. They don't listen when we're always right. It's like what do you call it? An unreciprocated relationship. We put so much labor into this country, especially when it comes to social issues, and it doesn't give back to us. You know, even affirmative action, it benefited white women more than any other racial group. So I've been courting the ideal of divestment because it just seems like a constant uphill battle. Like it's not going to change. No one's going to listen. But with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, I immediately knew that the people who would be, affected the most is Black and brown women. Black and brown people with ovaries. So yeah, it's kind of like, I'm like, working through caring, and what does that look like? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because at the same time, you don't want to get. This is something like, again, we've been talking about for a while now. It's only just now coming to light because a certain group is now affected by it. So you don't want to get burnt out.
Certainly.
And you don't want to also, again, do the work as well. But you also don't want to just sit there and just like let shit happen. But I understand completely about, what you're talking about. I know that I talked to my grandmother about it, I think as soon as the leak came out. And she was telling me that she was terrified because she also remembers what it was like before Roe v. Wade. And she said it was just kind of like disastrous. There's a bunch of deaths. I'm pretty sure people were leaving babies everywhere, left to right. And I feel like it's also like a disservice to her and the women in her time who worked so hard to kind of get that far, and just for them to like easily just snatch it away. So I feel kind of like, I feel numb, mainly because everything horrible has just been happening back to back, and I expected this to happen. Yeah. But I mainly feel more emotions for like it feels weird, for my grandmother, because of it feels like there was progress that happened, and that all that hard work is just flushed down the toilet.
In her lifetime.
Yeah.
And how old is your grandmother?
She's 85, 86. And she said that...
So she's lived through...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go on.
She's lived through it before Roe v. Wade and after Roe v. Wade. And she said things got so much better after Roe v. Wade.
Hello? What'd you say?
She noticed things before Roe v. Wade, and she also experienced things after Roe v. Wade, and she said things kind of got better after Roe v. Wade. And like, did you see the stories on the way that like the different ways women were disposing like babies after they were born?
No.
Oh, there was like a Twitter post of somebody like talking about she was working in a nursing home, and women in their 80s and 90s were talking about the different ways that they had to like dispose of babies, because I think one woman said she had like too many babies. She had like up to 6 or something, and she ended up like tossing them in the river and everything. Some people buried their babies alive. God. Like some people left it at their friend's house and just... they didn't know what happened to it afterwards. And like, I'm pretty sure that's what happened whenever they found my cousin. So my mom said that she was younger, and I don't know how old she was. I'm not really good with her age. She doesn't really let me know her age. So she was young, and she was with my aunt. They were walking down the street, and they found this like abandoned house, and they found a baby in it. The baby had whooping cough. They brought the baby to my grandma. Nobody came for the baby, so my great uncle adopted him.
Wow.
So now he's like considered our cousin, but he isn't blood related.
And you don't know who he's related to?
Nope.
Wow.
And my great uncle passed away, and he was recently, I think, 101. So, I mean, are we really pro-life if you're willing to take away rights to keep having this happen? So,
yeah. And the thing is, we're not pro-life. This is just racial preservation.
Exactly.
I hate to say it like that, but that's exactly what it is.
What it is.
Because if we were pro-life, I think that this country would make it easier to exist in this country.
Yeah. Essentially, it's just anti-abortion.
Like, it's just anti-abortion and sort of reestablishing certain pillars in white patriarchy. That's just how I feel about it. You can't really change the way I feel about it. I think it's just a reestablishment of that. And I think that we have to realize that there's so much more at risk. Clarence Thomas with his bitch ass is seeking to overturn a lot of things, except for interracial marriage.
Oh, yeah. No, like, the fuck? I feel so...
Yeah.
Me personally, I know that, like, I feel like this is just, like, a very weird rant. I feel very... As a person who is also in an interracial relationship, it kind of disgusts me. Like, it disgusts me a lot because I feel like there's certain ways to handle it. I have a big dislike for people who make it their whole personality. And...
What, being in an interracial relationship?
Yeah. Like, I hate when people make it their whole personality, and I also hate when people think that they're better than other people. Like, specifically, Black people think they're better than other Black people just because they're dating somebody outside of their race, which is weird.
You know, that's racism. And that's to believe that white is right and it's better. And somehow if you physically attain that whiteness, that you're better. I think it's weird as hell too.
Oh my God, too many.
I think
I met too many people like that, and it's they assume that I'm like them, and I'm like, no,
not at all, not at all.
So Clarence Thomas is a crusty ass bitch, sexual harasser who got away with all this shit, and. I feel like he's not getting called out enough for my liking. I feel like he's not getting called out enough for his bullshit. So.
The thing, what was it? I listened to a podcast today, and he's sort of been going against the grain of the Republican agenda, the conservative agenda, if I should say directly. They kind of want him to be more subtle about the goals that they have. And he's going against what they want him to do as far as like letting him know we're coming for Obergefell. We're coming for Plessy versus Ferguson. We're coming for, what was that? I forget the other one, but I know they already stroked down overturned Planned Parenthood versus Casey. So I don't understand. I don't understand where this guy is going. But I do know that I'm worried about the right to marriage and all of this, but I feel like we're digressing. No, we are. Yeah, no, I do want to talk about Roe and what that means for people, especially in Texas, because Texas is one of the states that had trigger laws set in place. So what have you found out to be like what's happening now in Texas now that Roe has been overturned?
I haven't seen any. I've read something that says the immediate changes are going to happen 30 days after. And we haven't gotten to the 30 days yet. For me personally, I'm more scared about, because like, I told you that I have like PCOS. So having a regular period and also knowing like when I'm ovulating is like thrown in the air all the time, right? And birth control, I'm always on birth control. I'm happy that it's free because I feel like everybody should have access to birth control, which I'm a little scared that we might not have access to. Which is interesting.
You know they're coming for contraception next. So
it doesn't surprise. Yeah. That's why I'm trying to get an Explain on.
Stop up. Yeah.
Take it out, bar, bitch.
Oh, God. I know someone, I talked to them on Friday. They were like, I am not taking this IUD out. Fuck that.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. I heard, I'm thinking of like the ring. I heard that was
the ring?
I think that's what I was thinking about with that.
Are you sure it's not IUD?
No, I want an IUD. I'm talking about like the painful version.
The implant in your arm?
Not the well, never mind. I want the implant. I don't want the IUD. There we go.
Okay. That
IUD I heard is super fucking painful, and I'm not about that life. But it's like they're forcing us. Like we already know, they're pretty much trying to I actually don't I know that we have our theories that you also said that there is essentially, I think you said race reservation?
Preservation.
Preservation.
Trying to preserve the white race because that's where the birth rates are declining.
But
I'm
for me,
serious.
it's kind of baffling because you're going to take away contraception. You don't want us to get pregnant. You don't want to, well, my bad. You don't want us to abort the fetus, right? But you're not giving us any preventative methods. So do they just want us to be celibate?
The thing is, they know that we're not going to be celibate. They know that. But that's what they're banking on. But what they don't realize is that, like, these millennials and Gen Z understand that the gig is up. Like, this is not, even if you do become with a what do you call it, a fetus, or you become with child, however you want to word it, pregnant, I don't know. This is still not an economy
Exactly.
or a country.
I mean, we
where
can
it
barely
is safe
afford to take care of
children.
ourselves. We sit out here trying to make,
do
We're
something
sitting here
about
trying to make like 3 times the rent.
Yeah,
And we
I'm
can't even
listening.
make
Go
3
on.
times the rent. So you expect me to carry a child? I barely could take care of this dog.
Yeah. And I also found out there have been bidding wars on rental property. People trying to rent apartments.
What
There's
the
bidding
fuck?
wars going on as if they're looking to buy a house. So there's no safety net in this country. There's no full supportive structure for
How do you feel
for the individual.
Oh, sorry, continue. How do you feel about the older generation saying, like, having a problem that we don't want to have kids?
They were able to live in the country, and when the country was still pretty young, the economy was in a better place. It was a safer place for them to have children. They're looking at it, in my opinion, from a perspective that's sort of selfish. When they could just easily have a kid, they could support that kid and they'd be okay. Even though in our community, like with welfare systems, although not all of us were raised on welfare, there was legislation that was against the nuclear family with 2-parent household. But I don't think that I don't know. I don't believe that's there anymore, but there's so much more to raising a child than I feel like there was back before,
Yeah. No, I was like, because the minimum wage is still fucking low. Everything is super expensive. Formula shortage. I have friends who have babies who can't get formula. So, I mean, I remember I told my grandparents, because also, like, with the whole PCOS thing, I talked to my doctor about, like, different ways, like, if I did decide to have kids, or, like, how I can become a little more fertile. So I was pretty much saying, okay, well, maybe this is like a blessing in disguise. Like, we'll just get a dog. Dog will be my first child. Dog is inexpensive. Compared to a child, a dog is not expensive at all. So I'll take my chances with the dog.
And I completely, I mean, I love Marley. It's my baby. But no, I agree with you. It's very hard to raise a child in this country. Not only that, I also, I look at it from the black feminist, black person's perspective. For us to become pregnant, there's so much risk for us. You have a healthcare system that doesn't believe us. They think we have a higher pain tolerance. Even still, although there is a lot of knowledge out against that, you have also the healthcare system doesn't generally believe that we always want our babies. There's not a holistic approach. There's no actual process for helping Black women deal with how epigenetics has affected our bodies and how we carry generational trauma. And I intentionally say generational trauma and not curse, because I think I hate that term. That's because I grew up in the Black church and they taunted me with it.
Seems accurate.
Anyways, I just don't think I just don't think that it's just like I have to look at it from that angle. Like it's just not a great place for us to have children, and more of us are waiting after we're in our 30s to have children. And procedures such as in vitro fertilization are definitely needed and super important. So, and you should not be considered a murderer if you have to abort an
Exactly.
ectopic
I feel
pregnancy.
like,
You should not.
I remember asking my mom kind of like how her pregnancy was with me and my sister. I also read something, I forgot where I read it, but they were saying that C-sections are overly used when it comes to giving birth. My mom had like a C-section with my older sister, and that was her first time having a child, but she didn't have one with me. But she told me like different stories about her pregnancy with me and my sister. She almost lost her life like twice having me and my sister. And I told her, I was like, why would you do that? Like, I was like, you can always make another, like, I know it sounds pretty morbid, but you can always make another baby. Like, I feel like, oh, wow, I'm very morbid. It's like, I feel like there's always like a chance to make another baby whenever it's the right time. And what's the point of having a child whenever the child's also going to be in like really bad circumstances, probably like be starving for food, and et cetera, et cetera. And also like my mom, when it came to her pregnancy with me, there was a lot of things that wasn't consensual whenever she was getting ready to give birth or getting like checkups. I think she told me that they wanted to wake me up because apparently like babies sleep upside down in women's stomachs. I don't know that. So they had this little tool, I guess they used back then, where you would like shock the baby in your stomach. And she didn't know that they were going to use it. Yeah.
What?
She didn't know that they were going to use it. So she was pretty pissed.
They did that
inside
to you?
My mom's stomach, yeah. But yeah, because they wanted to wake me up.
Oh my god!
I think it was just a small jolt, but I was like, "What the hell?" And also, like she said while she was giving birth, that one of the nurses says that they're gonna try to give her a natural pregnancy, and she was like, "No, you not. You finna give me this epidural." It's like, so
wow.
That's one of my biggest fears. Me and my partner talked about it. Like, if I'm going to end up giving birth to a child, I am so afraid to have it in the United States. I would rather go to a different country and get it done there and actually feel like I'm taken care of and that my concerns are listened to. And I also told them that I'm also going to have to ask them to be an advocate. It's sad, but I'm going to have to ask them to be an advocate for me. And I might also get a doula. I'm willing to use most of my resources because that is one of my biggest fears. Especially, did you hear about Serena Williams' pregnancy? Yeah, no. Because money doesn't matter, honestly.
It doesn't.
So you essentially have to just fight to be listened to.
You have to fight. Yeah.
It's so sad.
It's crazy. Yeah. But we have to wrap it up. I want to read off what exactly is happening in Texas now that Roe has been overturned. Here, let me turn my camera back on. I don't know what happened with the Wi-Fi,
Okay.
by the way. I have no clue. Okay, where is it? So in 30 days, this is what will be in effect. So it will be considered a first-degree felony with the $100,000 penalty. Exemptions are, they are not rape, not incest. If the life of the mother is at risk, that's an exemption. And the severe birth defect is not enough for an exemption either. This is in 30 days. Yeah,
I still know they don't give a fuck.
they don't give a fuck. And some states are, some states it's even it's worse. It's worse.
And this only benefits like mainly rich white people because they can fly out of the country and do the shit.
Mm-hmm. They can fly out of the country. They can just go a few hundred miles to go to another place. They have that benefit, but for us, that's not the case. There was a reproductive health clinic that had to halt completely their abortions as soon as it was overturned, and they had patients screaming and crying in the lobby and begging for help.
That article. Do you know if they're going to do something about, because I know that there is a certain company, I'm not going to say the name just in case, there's a certain company that will send abortion pills. Like you can talk with a doctor and like they'll get you to a doctor and they can anonymously send abortion pills. I'm wondering, because when we think of abortion, well, when most people think of abortion, they think of the medical procedure. I don't know if they think of the actual like intake of like medicine. So I'm wondering if they're going to like outlaw that, or is that like a small loophole we'll have? Because honestly, I don't use the period tracking app anyway. I know that you told me to like not use it. Obviously, I can't use it. So
why? Because your periods are inconsistent.
No, I haven't had a period, and this is TMI. I haven't had a period because of my PCOS, and maybe since last August.
Oh wow! Since last August.
Yep.
Oh wow! My period my periods only last like 2.5 days.
I used to have them whenever I was taking.
Going out of business.
Periods are going out of business.
I think mine are going out of business.
Well, mine's already put their for sale sign up.
Ovaries are like, all right. You did a job, bitch. I really rolling.
It's like we gave you, what was it? 24 years. Bye.
Yeah, you had a good 30 years. Good job. You didn't use it. We're out of here.
We had high hopes, but apparently it's not going to work right now.
That's okay. I still want a baby. Not going. But no, what do you call it? Yeah, you were asking about the period tracking app. So my fear with that is that the government will attain rights to period tracking apps and start taking data and basically doing what they want with the information to control women's bodies.
So for whoever uses a period tracking app faithfully and actually use it, that is something you should probably look out for. If you're like me and haven't used it, you should probably just delete your whole account because it's probably saying you're pregnant right now.
And if you must use any period tracking app, if you have an iPhone, use the one that's integrated into your iPhone. Do not use the Flow app. Do not use these private businesses because they're selling that shit, and they're also probably selling your biometric data as well. So, yes. Thal, do you have any last final thoughts? Can you turn your camera on?
Oh, hold on. Hello. I mean, I put on my bullet point that it was just like another. I know we wanted to talk about Texas seceding or attempting to secede, and also my thing also is like two different points: Texas seceding, and also how it disturbs me that Clarence Thomas and Brett Kavanaugh has the ability to say what women do with their bodies. And they're sexual harassers, sexual assaulters, rapists, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how that doesn't disturb anybody. I know that people will always try to justify them.
Yeah.
But, I'd rather not, have my body regulated by a sexual assaulter. So that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah. Or even just men in general. People born with penises.
Oh, yeah, no.
You could say that.
People born with penises.
Well, cis people born with penises.
Yeah.